Now we're going to talk to former trading floor executive Mark T. Williams. He's written the book Uncontrolled Risk, The Lessons of Lehman Brothers and How Systemic Risk Can Still Bring Down the World Financial System. Mark, welcome to the Young Turks.
Yes, glad to be here.
Great to have you here. So first, most important thing is, what really caused the collapse of Lehman Brothers? I know that there were a number of factors, but what was the principal cause?
Right. I think initially when I started this project a year ago, looking at it, I thought it would be as simple as saying it was one executive overcompensated, just willing to take greater risk to make profit. But what I realized very quickly was there were a lot of other complicated components, and my journey actually moved very quickly from Wall Street to Washington, D.C.
That's interesting. Why?
Well, it was interesting. When I looked more at it, I saw that the policy and oversight had been eroded over a period of 2 decades. So in essence, it's very clear that Lehman should take responsibility for the risk and its ultimate bankruptcy. But in a sense, the environment in which Lehman operated was allowed to happen as a result of lax oversight and lax policy.
Okay, so let's flesh that out. What was the specific oversight or regulation that they did not do, which allowed Lehman to do what? Right.
So in this example, when I say they, I'm really referring to the SEC. The SEC was really asleep at the switch. We saw an agency in particular which was very top-heavy with lawyers and really didn't have a lot of people that would roll up their sleeves and go in and examine organizations. Even by 2007, for example, the SEC, they regulated over 140 broker-dealers, which Lehman was part of. And in that year alone, they only did a report for 6 of those over 140 broker-dealers. So in essence, what you saw very quickly was this was an agency which just didn't do their job. And if they had a cop at every corner, then it would have reduced the probability of shops like Lehman or Merrill Lynch or Bear Stearns taking the risks that they took.
So here's what I need to understand, though, Mark. Where were they taking the risk? Because what should the SEC have done? If they had a cop on every corner, they should have stopped Lehman from doing what trade?
Well, what was fascinating about Lehman was an investment bank, but in essence, what it really was a hedge fund that actually engaged very quickly in speculative deals in real estate. Very quickly, they moved from Wall Street to Los Angeles. They took very large bets in cities like Los Angeles and Florida, and they became very large speculators in real estate. Many investors weren't even realizing that this investment had turned into a real estate bet.
Okay, that's interesting. So then they were apparently betting on the subprime mortgages, obviously. And how did they make those bets? Was it just that they bought up a lot of mortgages, or did they make derivatives bets on those subprime mortgages?
Right. Well, with Lehman, it was fascinating in a sense because as I started peeling the layers of the onion back, you learned a lot about their culture. And what happened was Lehman first just put their toe in the water. They got involved initially with residential mortgages, mostly what we call Alt-A, which means alternative to agency. So they weren't prime mortgages, which were the highest quality, but they weren't yet subprime. So they stepped into that market by the 1990s, and it was profitable. And very quickly what they realized was they could make more profit by taking bigger bets. So as the market improved in the 1990s and going into 2000, they made money. So they just continued to put more and more firm capital at risk in commercial, then eventually capital in these investments. And I think that's really where the problem happened with Lehman. They lost sight of really their specialty, and they became a real estate hedge fund.
But how much did they leverage those? Because if you make bad bets, if you got the money to back them up, you're not going to run it. You're going to run into problems, but not devastating problems like Lehman did. What was the leverage situation?
And I think the lesson here, that's a great question that we learned, is that leverage kills. And I think, as we're writing Financial Overhaul, I think every congressman should have a bumper sticker that says just that, leverage kills. Lehman at the end was up to 32%. That is 30 times leverage, meaning that for just a 3% move down in value of assets, their equity position would be completely wiped out. So it was quite a speculative bet.
So if they're leveraged 30 to 1, was that through just buying a tremendous amount of subprime mortgages, or was it through derivatives that they got to 30 to 1?
Well, interesting. I think initially the perception in the marketplace was Lehman got too heavily involved in subprime. But when you really sort of dug down deeply and you looked at their investments in real estate, they had substantial investments in things like McAllister Ranch, located in California, right in, for example, Bakersfield area. And these investments themselves were commercial real estate investments. They weren't subprime. But these investments themselves eventually represented 3 to 4 times their equity. So they were betting the shop, the farm, literally 3 to 4 times of what they actually had in cushion and capital.
So if you were at the SEC and you see Lehman's leveraged up 30 to 1, how would you have stopped it?
Well, interesting enough, we need to go back in history. In 2004, the market was roaring. Individuals, heads of investment banks such as Hank Paulson, at the time was head of Goldman Sachs, was really petitioning and lobbying the SEC hard to relax the leverage caps that were placed on investment banks such as Goldman Sachs and Lehman and Merrill Lynch. So in essence, the SEC relaxed their rules by 2004, and that opened up the ability for investment banks like Lehman and Goldman Sachs and Bear Stearns to then take additional risk, and that's exactly what they did.
So that I've gone back to that point many times. So you're in agreement with me. That 2004 decision by the SEC was absolutely critical because that's what kicked them up from a leverage of 10 to 1 or 12 to 1 to the ballpark of 30 to 1, et cetera.
That's correct. Now the SEC will come back and say that's not what we did, but in essence, that's what happened. If we look at the hard facts, we see investment banks by 2003, 2004 in particular, moving to 2005, increase their leverage dramatically.
So has that been fixed now, or can they still be leveraged up to 30 to 1?
No, it hasn't been fixed. The only way it's policed is by the market. So in a sense, these investment banks, it's harder for them to get debt to lever up.
Yeah, I don't really believe that. I mean, I of course I do in a limited sense, in the short-term sense. People, of course, after the debacle and the collapse are going to be a little bit more gun-shy about giving money to these banks. But at the same time, they're bragging about how they just got $140 billion in equity, and they raised that money because the government's really backing them up, and they're getting money almost for free at 0% interest rate. So obviously somebody's giving them money, and my guess is as soon as they have the money, they're going to take as much risk as possible to make as much money as possible in the short run.
Well, it really is. It's a wonderful period to be a Wall Street bank. We saw, for example, J.P. Morgan yesterday announced first quarter earnings of $3.3 billion. It really is in contrast to the rest of America. We're seeing unemployment at 9.7, and there must be a lot of heads shaking. How can Wall Street be doing so well when Main Street's doing so poorly?
And what's the answer to that, Mark?
Well, I think the answer is that we really have the scales tipped, and that is that the top 5 or 10 banks in America themselves have become very profitable at the expense of Main Street and the lack of controls that need to be in place to make sure that we have a better balance.
We're talking to Mark Williams. He's the author of Uncontrolled Risk. Mark, even if they're not leveraged up to the hilt right now, and we don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, we don't really know because, for example, they won't tell us what derivatives trades they're making. So even if they're not now, if there is no law in place, isn't it logical that they would then at some point have the financial incentive to get to be over-leveraged again?
Yes. What we've learned about the financial crisis is just this, and that is that banks will do what they need to do to seek profit, and what they need to be is controlled. So in essence, I think part of the challenge here is to say, hey, look, it's not just Wall Street that's taking these great risks, but in essence, the referees were not even on the court. And as a result, these banks were able to do what they do best, and that's seek profit and take risk.
So is it your prediction that and right now the financial reform package has nothing to control leverage? Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that how you see it?
The House bill and the Senate bill themselves vary, but in essence, the focus has been more on the capital positions and actually what sort of trading activities that these large banks can do. For example, the Volcker rule, the Senate bill in particular, says that large banks themselves cannot engage in proprietary trading, where the House bill, which was passed last December, really doesn't speak to that proprietary trading.
So I think that's a step in the right direction, but it doesn't really address the core issue, and the core issue is leverage. And Geithner is on the record as saying, no, we should not have any regulation of leverage. So if that's the case, isn't, given the profit-seeking motive that is, obvious to at least some of us, that the banks will crash again just the same exact way they did in '08?
Well, that's the key premise of my book, and that is that systemic risk exists. It has not changed since Lehman failed 19 months ago. So unless we have meaningful financial reform, including restrictions on leverage, including increasing capital, including requiring better liquidity requirements, and also addressing compensation issues, until we do all four of those things, then we actually have systemic risk. We have an opportunity, a chance, unfortunately, for another Lehman to happen again.
Finally, Mark, let me ask you about naked credit default swaps. These appear to be, bets where you don't have any of the underlying equity, or you don't have an interest in the corn or the oil or whatever the original derivative was, or real estate. So why do we even allow those? I mean, what purpose do they serve society to allow these giant banks to take enormous bets against one another? What's their point, or should they actually in reality be banned?
Right. So since the mid-2000s, the SEC specifically had a ban supposedly on what we call naked positions. That is, that you could go in and do a naked short, meaning not owning the commodity or even the ability to buy it back, but yet you actually still sell it. And just to boil that down, what that position meant was that greater speculation could be taken. That is, theoretically, you could short a stock greater than the value of the number of shares outstanding. So you could actually depress the stock higher than what typically should be done. So this is very much got a lot of pressure and press after Bear Stearns and Lehman's collapse. And the summary was this: naked shorts should be stopped in any commodity. And so the SEC actually, since I think it's 2005, supposedly has been policing this. And yet what we did see in reality that the SEC actually was sitting on the sidelines.
You know what, I want to ask you one more question because I'm obsessed about this topic. And Mark's book is Uncontrolled Risk, The Lessons of Lehman Brothers and How Systemic Risk Can Still Bring Down the World Financial System. They say that we have a $605 trillion derivatives market. Well, the entire world economy is only $60 trillion. So how does that add up? No one's ever been able to explain that to me.
Right, so it's what we call notional. So in essence, the value of these derivatives themselves, the mark-to-market value is much less than $600 trillion. This is a notional value, it's a theoretical value, but what we do know is this market is huge. It's a private derivative market, and what's private means is that it's not open to the light of day, and that is a negative for the market. The market itself is weakened by the fact that there's all these side deals, such as credit default swaps that AIG got involved in, and they were not on exchange. This is one of the central themes of the tug-of-war right now that's got to be hashed out in the Senate and the House of Representatives, and that is these derivatives, these, what you said, over $600 trillion of private derivatives need to be brought on exchanges so we can see them in the light of day and we can see price transparency and the market can get stronger as a result. Wall Street is adamantly against this. For one reason. Profits are 2 to 3 times higher for these transactions that are off exchange, that aren't open to the light of day. And that is the debate. And so there is a fierce battle going on right now.
So I still don't get, notional value is $600 trillion, but the real value is less. Why?
So notional is really just, it's a theoretical value. I'll have a swap arrangement, and I'll say the notional value, that is, the theoretical, is $1 million. But the amount of cash that changes hands will be a fraction of that notional value.
Right, so it is a $600 trillion market. They just don't have the $600 trillion to back it up because they're leveraged.
Well, leverage is key to the derivatives market, and like we started this discussion this evening, leverage kills, and it should be a bumper sticker on every congressman's car. Will it be? I wonder.
All right, yeah. Okay, so bottom line is, even if they pass this so-called tough financial reform that Obama's pushing for and the Republicans are fighting against, it's not actually tough. That leverage kills, leverage is not controlled, and in the end it'll crash.
Well, we have 30 institutions globally that are considered systemic institutions. And quite simply what that means is if any one of them go belly up, That'll set a domino effect globally. Lehman showed us September 15th. That was a version of our 9/11, financial 9/11. We have 4 institutions in America that are considered part of that top 30 global list. So that means there's 26 elsewhere globally. It's a significant problem. Systemic risk exists, not only in America, but also in Asia and Europe. And as a result, it needs to be addressed. At this point, it looks like we are not addressing this problem significantly.
All right. If you weren't scared enough by my program and how I've said this, get a load of Mark's book, Uncontrolled Risk. So, Mark Williams, thanks for joining us on the Young Turks. We appreciate your time.